Alright, so let's take a look at the ls command. Now this is one of the first commands that you learn when you learn the CLI for a Linux or Unix system, and it's one of the simplest commands. Now we're going to show you what you need to know if you're an absolute beginner, but if you've already been using this for many years, you're still probably going to learn something. Yeah, there's a good chance you're going to learn a few things that you never knew about this command before. So stay tuned, and we're going to show you the basic usage and a little bit more of the advanced usage. So let's start out with the basic usage of the command. Just type ls to list files. So there's the Linux ls command in action. It lists out all the files in the current directory. So I'm in the etc directory right now. Now it's using color by default. Now that's already set up in my profile. So basically these blue files here are directories, and the green ones are regular files. Now that you might be logged in through a different using a different terminal, and you might not get those colors. So your mileage may vary. In any case, it's doing the coloring for me, which is kind of nice. Now this just lists the files out. The second most common usage for this is to say ls-l. Now this is the long listing format, and this is going to list details about the files. So you see all the files here, and I'm just going to point out real quick, this is a link. So this file right here is just a link to this actual file, and that's the path of it. So anyways, the folder now, permissions are a bit out of scope for this video. I'm going to do another video on permissions, so stay tuned for that. But you see here, these basically list out the permissions for each file, and this is the owner of the file, and this is the group that the file belongs to. So this file, for example, belongs to root, which is kind of like the admin user on the default admin user for any Linux or Unix system, and this is the group that owns it. Now, this for example is owned by root, but the group shadow, right? So, in this one, the group dip. So you see some of them are a little bit different. If you were to look at my home directory, you see they're all owned by the user1 and the group user1, right? Now you see a D means it's a directory. Now these first three characters here are the owner's permissions, then you have the group's permissions, and then you have everyone else's permissions. So the yeah, so I guess I will talk about permissions a little bit in this video. So it gives us R for read, write, and X for execute. Now, if it's a binary or a script, you need execute permissions to actually run the script. If it's a directory or a folder, you need execute permissions to be able to list what's inside that folder. If you don't have execute permissions on a folder, you won't be able to see what's inside it. So, anyways, in this case, usually the owner, you're going to give them read, write, execute permissions. Now, for the group, you have read execute permissions, and everyone else also has read execute permissions, so anybody can see what's in this directory. So, any case, yeah, oh yeah, and an L would tell you that it's a link. So here you can see it's a link, but L for link, D for directory, and dash if it's none of those. So this file, for example, gives you read-write permission to the owner of the file, but the group only gets read permission, and everyone else only gets read permission as well. And for some more restricted files, like say the sudoers file, you might have read permission for the owner and the group, and you might have no permission for everybody else. So that's how permissions work. And you can see the date the file was last updated, and you can see the actual name of the file itself. So that it gives you all those details when you use the -L option. Now, there are actually also some hidden files here. So I'm going to go to my home directory, and I'm going to do ls here, and I'm just going to do a regular ls. Now, this is not all the files in this directory. If you use a -A, this will show you the hidden files. So any file starting with a dot is hidden, and usually that's because you have You'll have configuration directories, like this is the config directory for gphoto or GNU-PG or GNOME. They're all config directories, so most of the time you don't want to look at them, so they are meant to remain hidden. It's not because they're secret, it's just because they clutter up your home directory and no one really wants to see them, right? I have my MongoDB or my Minecraft configuration files all hidden inside there, all inside these hidden directories. They're dot files, right? So some of them you might have a regular file, it's also hidden. So anything that's hidden is going to start with a dot. Now if you want to see these hidden dot files, you use a -a. Now if you want to use a long listing in the hidden dot files, LA. Now this is the other very common usage is ls-la. Will give you all the files including the dot files, right? Now there's a couple dot files that you're going to include here. There's a couple special types of dot files, right? Now, you notice you have a single dot and a double dot. The single dot refers to the current directory you're in, and the double dot refers to your parent directory. And these are present in every single, so they have dots, so they're hidden, so you won't have to look at them, because you know they're always there. They're in every single directory in the entire file system. They basically just refer to the parent in the current directory, so they're just there. You don't need to know they're there. You don't need to confirm they're there. You might use them as a convenient way to check the permissions. Like if you want to check the permissions for the current directory, you might say ls-l dot, and that's going to list all the files there. You could list the current directory permissions like this, right? Now, if you want to show all your dot files but exclude those two files, you can use an A. So A will include all your dot files and everything else, but it's going to exclude the dot and the double dot files, since they're kind of, you can just assume they're always there. You don't need to verify them. Now, another common usage for this is ls-l. Well, first off, notice that this column, I kind of skipped over this, but this is the size, right? Now, this is going to be in bytes, so this is kind of not really, it's kind of hard to read when you have long numbers like this, and you have to constantly convert them into megs or gigs or whatever else, and it's a bit of a pain to read, right? So you can use an H, so you can do ls-lh, and it's going to tell you, it's going to give you a K, so this is just bytes right here. And then if you have 4,000 bytes, it's going to just say 4.0K, right? And once you get up into megs or gigs, it'll show you things like, I think I'd have to, like right here, 56 megs. I don't think I have any gigabyte files here. Any case, it'll just be a G if it's for gigs, but it makes it easier to read. One disadvantage of that is it's harder to sort if you're sorting by that column. So there's that to consider, but yeah, H stands for human readable. Now, one common thing you're going to do is ls-ltr. So the L is for the long listing, H is for human readable, and T is sort by time, and R is for reverse. So it's going to give you your most recently updated files at the bottom here, because you're sorting by reverse. So the older stuff at the very top. Now, if you wanted to take that R out of there, you can have the older stuff at the bottom and your newer stuff, like from right now, up at the top here. Now, so yeah, ls-ltrh is a very common thing to use. Now, if you just wanted to have all your files in there, you might have, you might add an A on there too. So anyways, those are all the most common things you'd use with the ls command, and if you've been using this command for many years, or if you're already familiar with it, you probably know all of those things already. And if you're a beginner just learning about this command, those are the real important things that you want to learn. Now, let's talk about some of the less common things. Now, I'm not going to talk about the absolutely most obscure, nuanced things. I would refer you to the man page for that. Check the link in the description. I'm going to try to put, I'm going to eventually put a page, I'm going to link to my website and give you a page detailing just kind of like a quick cheat sheet or reference for this, but I'm also going to link to the man pages. If you ever want to read up on this, just type MANLS. So right here, you can see all the options for this command there. So for any command you're using, just use use man to look up the manual page for the ls command. So anyways, I was going to show you a few things. Now we've covered the -L-A. So A is show all the files. Capital A is all the files. It's almost all the files except the dot and the dot dot. And we've covered the T for sort by time, and R for sort in reverse, H for human readable. Now I'm going to quick jump to the etc directory because it's good for an example. Now another thing you could do is recursive. So you can say ls-R for recursive, and this will recursively list all of the files. So it lists everything in every subdirectory recursively. So that's kind of useful too. Now another one you can do, you can show size in blocks. So ls-s size in blocks. You can also say capital S to sort by size, and that's going to be largest first, which is not real useful if you can't see the size. So maybe say L like this, right? And you can do in reverse. Okay, so there you go. Now, one useful thing that not a lot of people use, you can so normally if you say ls, it's just gonna list everything in columns like this. And if you say ls-L for the extended view, it lists only one column, but a bunch of columns for all of the details, but all your file names are in one column here. So what if you wanted all your file names to be in one column here, but you don't want all these details? You only want the file names like this, but you want it one column instead of multiple columns. Well, you can do it like this. You say ls-1. So instead of an L, you type 1, and that gives you everything in a single column. So that's kind of convenient if it's the kind of thing you use. Now another thing, I showed you this before, but I didn't talk about what it does exactly. But if you want to show just a directory, you can go like this. You can say, like for example, if I were to list ls-udev, right? There's the udev directory. It's going to list all the things in the udev directory. But what if I just want to list that directory? You can say a -d. Now that's not too useful by itself. Let's say if you did ls-ludev, right? Now you get all the permissions and ownership for everything in that. But say if you just want to check this one file, -d. So ls-ld for this directory, and it gives you only the directory, not the contents of the directory, and you can see all the details about that directory that you want to see. So a -d will just show you the folders and not the contents of the folders. So you could say yeah. Anyways, the other thing that's interesting is -I for inode number. So ls-I, and this will give you the inode numbers. Now this is a little bit beyond the scope of this video, but inodes have to do with the file system and the structure of the file system. So they're the actual nodes within your file system. So unless you're getting down into the details of the file system and how the system works, this is a bit beyond the scope of this simple video that I'm making today. So that's something more for a future video. But so what you'd actually use the inodes for, or why you would care about that, that's for another video. But I'm showing you at least you can use the inodes, and if you do happen to know what you would use them for, or have a use for them, or you want to look them up, now you know how to look them up easily. A bunch of other commands will show you them also. Any case, but yeah, if you have files with weird special characters in them and you want to display them differently, you have the Q option and you have the B option. So Q is to hide control characters and B is to show escapes for non-graphic characters. So any case, and one thing you can do is the last one I'm going to show you is the -B option. So ls-B, and this will show you so this is going to ignore backups. Now we didn't have any backups in here, so I'm going to create one. I'm going to create one that looks like a backup. Now one common convention used by some software, I haven't seen this in a long time, but one common convention is to create backup files, and they are created by by putting a tilde on the end of the file. So touch test2 tilde, right? So if you look at that, you would say this is a backup file. Now some software will name their files with a tilde. I forget which software did that. It used to be annoying having my directory cluttered with these, a ton of backup files years ago. I haven't seen these in years. I forget which software was doing this, but it's a non-issue these days, for at least for me, for any system I've been running. But if you wanted to hide that, if you do have a system that's creating a bunch of these backup files and cluttering up your system, and you want to hide that, you can say -B, that's a capital B, and it will hide that backup file. So there you go. All right, so a couple more things I wanted to show you with this is the X. So you can actually sort by extension. So basically this allows you to sort by file type. So you can say ls, and you could say ls-X, and this will, you know, it's a little, so it is sorting it, but it's a little bit better, easier to tell what it's doing if you have an L. So you can have an ls-L like this, and they're all mixed up. Now, you know what? Let's make this a better example. All right, so there we go. Let's say ls-L, and you see all of these files. They're a bit mixed up. So yeah, like some JPEGs, a directory, some PDF, some text files, some no extension files, text files again, a PDF at the bottom here. Right? They're not sorted, so you just do a capital X, and there we go. They're now sorted. All your text files here, your PDFs here, JPEGs, things with no extension, and there you go. So that's how you can sort by extension alphabetically. So alphabetically by extension. So any case, the next one is to show the security context. Now I'm not actually using security context on this system, but you can use a Z. I'm still going to use the L, but a capital Z to show the security context. So not a whole lot to show there. So okay, so all it really did was add this question mark because there's no security context here. So you can say like yeah, so nothing to see on any of these, so I can't really give you a great example for that. But yeah, question mark. So one last thing I should mention is the option color. So I think the fact that I'm logged on as root and it doesn't have, let's see if this works. You can say -- color, and it will colorize everything. Okay, so that's a good example. When I was logged in as myself, everything was already colorized because that was set up in my profile. As root, it's not set up as in the root's profile, which is kind of suboptimal. The root account should have that also, but in any case, it doesn't. So if the system you're on does not have this set up in your profile, you can say -- color, and it will, it'll use colors to highlight different file types. So blue for directories, green for everything else, and it'll use different colors for other things like this right here. This is a link, so it's whatever you would call this, light green or aqua green, maybe something like that. In any case, it will colorize things for you, and you can actually create an alias for this in your bash RC file or in your .pro file or whatever you're using on your system. So that's one thing to be aware of. As my own account, I did not need that because it's already in my profile. So there you go. This video is part of a constantly expanding series, including other Linux command videos and related topics. Do check out the playlist. We're also going to be adding a combined CLI course video and multiple actual combined CLI course videos, some focused on things such as Linux network commands. So stay tuned for all of that and definitely hit the subscribe button. Also hit the little bell icon, otherwise YouTube won't let you know when we come out with new videos. Also, you might want to give me a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, comments, criticisms, anything you want to say, leave a comment down below, not just for me, but for anyone else who watches the video after you. And you're not going to want to miss out on our other great content, which includes things like more Linux stuff, coding, automation, servers, electronics, Raspberry Pi and single board computers, robots, 3D printing, networking, and a ton more. So don't miss out. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon. That's it for today. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys on that next video.